Brad, let's get on to your favourite topic. I've been skirting all around it and giving you plenty of opportunity to talk about something a bit different tonight, but let's go to depreciation. Now, it's been a fair while now since the budget announced. It's got to be...
May 17, so May 2017,
you probably know the date and time.
9th of May, 30 p.m.
Since the government announced changes to how we can depreciate the things that are inside our properties, and specifically they disallowed us from claiming depreciation on items that we didn't buy ourselves. So things that that were already in the property, you can't claim depreciation on now. If it's a brand new property, you can. Or if you've got an older property that where you buy something new, like an air conditioner, then you can depreciate that. You know, given that that's changed, has it affected the market in any way that you can see?
In the market for depreciation schedules a little bit, yes. I think to clarify, the things that are in there that you refer to are plant and equipment. So you can't claim on the plant and equipment, but there still is that deduction that relates to the building that doesn't change based on that transaction. But the market for depreciation schedules has changed and subtracted a little, and the reason for that is that there's some properties that we used to do a depreciation schedule for, we don't find enough deductions in anymore. So we don't want to do a depreciation schedule unless there's enough deductions in that property to actually do it.
So you're talking about, because I remember we always used to have discussions on shows like this one that I hosted, where I'd have an older property where we knew I had no building depreciation, and you'd say to me, we're going to get stuff in there for you because at some stage someone would have replaced the carpets and the curtains and the blinds and probably the hot water heater and, you know, maybe some of the things in the kitchen. And you always won that particular bet. You would go out to my properties and you'd get me a good amount of deductions on those properties.
Yes.
But if we had that bet today, are you saying that I would probably win because you wouldn't be able to find anything?
Well, I'd bet on the things I know I could win when it comes to depreciation. But the thing is, in the past, what they had was a gap in that legislation that you were allowed to put a value on a second-hand plant and equipment item, but really it should only get one effective life, one claim. And there wasn't, the methodology was flawed, and it's their methodology, in the fact that we can, but there was no allowance to ensure that something doesn't get claimed again and another value raised against it, which is what they were trying to remove as a problem.
So we probably need to explain that to the viewers. Essentially what would happen is this. Say I owned a property and you came out and said to me, the carpet is worth only $500 for all this carpet in this place, $500. But we know that the tax office says carpet can be claimed over 10 years, so I claim the $500 over 10 years. Now I get to the end of that 10 years and then I sell the property to someone. And then that person gets you and you go, carpet's only worth $300. But they get to claim that $300 over another 10 years. Now to me, that was always flawed.
That was always flawed, absolutely. What we don't know is the connection between the first claimer and the second claimer.
Exactly.
And really the way the rules were built was a bit flawed because there should be a life on an item.
That's right. If we said effective life, we mean how long does it last? If we've already said
10 years.
If we've already said it's done its 10 years, how can it do another 10 years?
And the reason that the flaw was there probably relates to things. Property is a little difficult in this. Not difficult, but it's different. When you buy an old second-hand car that is more older than its effective life and you pay an amount for that car, you can still depreciate your old car, regardless, because you actually pay something for it. Now, with properties, if we choose good ones, they go up in value, not down in value, but the carpet doesn't go up in value. So you're actually paying more for carpet that's older than the last person, often because you pay more for that house. And they never really dealt with that properly with a mechanism to put a value on that carpet. Now, when they made these changes, what really should have happened and should happen is that we should go, well, carpet gets 10 years because that's its effective life. If it's 8-year-old carpet, it should have 2 years left.
Yes.
Now, it's not that hard to calculate.
So why couldn't they have done that? Why couldn't they have said, whatever the person before you's claimed, you get the balance.
And that is
And you pass that on.
Well, that's what happens with the other component, the Division 43 at the moment.
Yes, exactly. If I've got a property, it's a Division 43, because you're doing depreciation speak, building
yes.
depreciation. If you've got a building that's, say, worth $200,000 and you can claim that over 40 years at $5,000 a year, I hope my maths is correct, then, and I've had it for 10 years and I've claimed 50,000 on it, you get the other 150.
Over the next
Because we
30
know
years.
it's going to last 40 years and we know exactly what it is.
It's a straight line method.
Why can't we
It's
do that
all
with everything?
Well, it's all based on the cost at the time, and we should. And when we put submissions back to Treasury on that, we said, here's a way that it really does work, because you actually already have it in the other part of depreciation that we claim. But plant and equipment's treated as a separate item, as depreciation, as opposed to it's a different part of the Act. And it's treated as plant and equipment like the rest of plant and equipment. It doesn't quite work for property. What it needed was fixing. And instead, we ended up with a sledgehammer instead of
just
a scalpel. Right? It was easier for them to throw it out. Now, the thing is, in debating with some politicians around that time, the fact that every hot water service pretty much has a date stamped on it, so we can work out how old it is because they stamp a date on them when they build them. So, in working out, and most ovens and stoves have model numbers that run that you can actually kind of work out the age of these things.
I guess their position was probably that if you bought a property off someone who'd lived in it, who couldn't provide you with any detail around when the carpet was first bought, you got no way of establishing whether there's anything left or not.
Which is where the quantity survey comes in to establish a value, but the methodology that they have out there to allow you to come with that value is flawed. We need to fix the methodology and come up with a way that, okay, if it's 5-year-old carpet, the next person gets the 5 years regardless of what happens to the first person, but it wasn't cut and dried or properly dealt with legislation in the past, and that's where the gap was, and it was easier to just go, let's just get rid of it because we don't think we can administer it.
Now that it's gone, it's unlikely to come back though, isn't it? Particularly with all the sort of stuff around whether or not we even should be negatively gearing, it's unlikely that they're going to bring that back now.
I think so. So after the election, Scott Morrison was asked at a press club a few weeks later, will you guys look at negative gearing, obviously, because that was a Labor policy. And his response was something like, we mess with the depreciation and the travel claims and things. We've played with what we're going to do there. We've got nothing else that we want to do. I can't see, in saying that, we'll again go and ask some questions about why don't you fix the legislation the way it should be? Because really, if I buy a property that's 1 year old with a 1 year old stove, I'm paying something for that 1 year old stove. I should get the rest of my 11 years on that stove.
Absolutely.
And so we'll do some advocating to try and let's fix your legislation and make it right over time. Who knows if we get anywhere.
So in real terms, though, now that this plant and equipment depreciation is off the table and gone, over the life of an investment, and let's call it 15 years for the average person, what kind of an impact has it got on total depreciation that you can claim over that life?
Well, over the
Have you done that modelling?
Over the full 40 years,
right.
The plant and equipment makes up a component that's probably about 15% of your deductions.
Right.
Sometimes a bit less. We'll call it 15% for round numbers. And so, but the difference is that a lot of that claim on the plant and equipment comes in the first 10 or 15 years.
Yes.
So that 15% or so is all claimed because the things are 10 and 12-year lives. Most of it's claimed in that period of time.
Right.
And then it gets back to that straight line method and gets the same amount every year. So you've got a loss over the full life of the property of about, if you buy it 1 year old second hand, that 15-odd%. But what you do lose more in the early years, which is sort of the harder times of owning a property, because that's when it's the most expensive.
And that's when you can really use the deductions, yeah.
But then that's it. Let's see if they can listen to, I'm for good tax legislation at the end of the day, and depreciation, it's a fundamental part of the law that we should build those things properly. We changed it for residential and we didn't change it for commercial.
Yeah, no.
Still a flaw.
It's a flaw, isn't it?
Let's fix it.
Look, just another quick question, because I'm conscious that we've got a couple of questions we've got to get to tonight and we're not going to get through them, but do you think this presents an argument for buying brand new? I mean, people buy brand new because they want to get that depreciation, but to me, they often pay a lot more.
I'm the depreciation guy, right? And I'd say depreciation is one of those numbers that you crunch with a property that helps you with the cash flow on the way through. Now, depreciation on a new property now versus a 2-year-old property that's very similar, there's a bit of a difference, and more of a difference. There didn't used to be much difference. There's more of a difference now. But we should be, and we should be buying properties that we believe are able to make money through all the ways, and the 20 must-ask questions. One of those is, can I afford to hold it? And can I afford that property over time? And there's a cash flow piece associated with purchasing any investment property. But it shouldn't be, tax shouldn't be the sole driving reason behind buying a particular one over another one.
Plus, I guess we have to be very careful too, because many of those brand new properties come with a premium in them that just can't be gotten back in that cash flow. So you might pay $30,000 or $40,000 more for the brand newie over the one that's only 2 or 3 years old, and you're not going to get that back in that extra depreciation.
And again, the depreciation is one of those only things. Now, if you've got a brand new property that fits the fundamentals and you think is going to grow over time at the price you're buying it at,
Buy it.
Then buy it.